So Chris, this is your first time, right? All right. So tonight we have Chris Bennett and Jacob, the only Jacob here, I don't know why, who will be going over AR. And they each have like very different things that they're using AR for. So Jacob's going to go over more creating filters for Instagram and that kind of stuff. And Chris is going to go over an AR project that he has worked on and a lot of the kind of fundamentals about AR. So Chris, take it away.
Yay. Okay, cool. I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. Everybody hear me? Everybody see me? Everybody?
Yes,
cool?
You're
okay,
good.
Great. Thank you. Cool. So hi, my name is Chris and I'm here with Jacob. We're talking about augmented reality today. And if you don't know what it is, you're going to find out and you're going to have fun along the way. So here we go. Oh yeah. First, we're going to start defining all the kind of different realities we got going on here. Okay, so first we're going to start off with virtual reality. This is probably the most popular. You guys probably know this one already, but this is a completely simulated reality, all digitally staged, usually involves a headset of some kind, maybe some speakers and a controller, not necessarily, but most likely. And it just allows us to immerse into a digitally created environment, different from our own than what we're experiencing right now. And it's really popular in video games. It's also really popular with job trainings. So in the military, they use a lot of VR for military scenarios with training simulations. In hospitals, a lot of surgeries are practiced in VR before being used in real life. And also in some other jobs too, some more dangerous, on the site jobs, maybe constructions or oil rigs, they use some VR training scenarios to help with some really dangerous scenarios. So it's very useful. And those who are familiar with VR might know the Oculus. That's one of the more popular VR headsets going around right now. It's a bit pricey at $300, but they have a lot of cool games like Fruit Ninja VR, where you're chopping up fruit in virtual reality, and some Beat Saber stuff, which is Guitar Hero, but with lightsabers. Very advanced technology, very cool. If you can afford it, God bless. If you can't afford it, there's a cheaper VR experience for $7 by Google Cardboard. So if you can probably just make your own Google Cardboard if you want to tape a phone to your face or something. But if you want to use this, Google Cardboard has their own application where you can enjoy some VR experiences, like some 3D concerts. I know The Lion King on Broadway had a 360 degree recorded performance that you could immerse yourself in with VR. Some music videos and some Google Earth VR is also a popular application being used. So if you haven't experienced VR, I suggest one of these two. If you can't afford the Oculus, like most of us, try and enjoy something on your phone using Google Cardboard. It's fun. Moving right along to augmented realities. This is what we're focusing on today. I'm going to show you some more examples later on, obviously, but just to touch on it. So AR is basically a digital overlay on top of our live view of the real world. So you're usually looking through a screen or some type of device, so a digital image or content can be displayed in a three-dimensional space. Usually involves some 3D mapping, not necessarily, but usually. And we're going to talk about more in just a second. And then we want to talk on mixed reality. So this you might not have heard of, but this is physically interactive AR. So this is maybe what you think of when you see in Star Trek, someone has a hologram keyboard and they're typing on it and it's interacting with physical space. That's what kind of MR is. It's a very complex software, but what differentiates it from AR is that mixed reality uses occlusion, and that's when it interacts with the real world. And we're gonna have some more examples moving forward. Oh, and if you don't know what to say, you can just say extended reality. This encompasses all of the other realities except actual reality, which is very complex, and we're not going to talk about that one. But AR, VR, MR, XR combines them all. So if you don't know what to say XR. You're going to be correct. Okay, AR examples. Everyone knows this. If you're around during the summer of 2016, you saw people playing this game called Pokemon Go. It has 3D models put into a three-dimensional space, makes an immersive experience. And this is an AR game. So what makes it not a mixed reality game is that there's no occlusion. If you can see in these pictures, this is my little Squirtle in my apartment. And as you move around this barrier wall, Squirtle is still being projected, but onto the wall instead of like on the ground. So if it was occlusion going on, you wouldn't be able to see the Squirtle behind the wall, but because you can, it is considered AR, not MR. So that's just an example I have for you guys. Mario Kart Live Circuit. So this is another Nintendo AR that just came out. I think it came out last year. And this takes a physical toy car with a camera hookup on top of it. And you control this toy car with your Nintendo Switch, and you set up a circuit around your house or living room or whatever using these gates, which are like indicators that they are part of the track, and you drive under them. And when you're playing your Mario Kart game, you're driving this physical car around, and it uses this camera and projects basically digital content onto your Switch of the other racers, obstacles, items, and stuff like that. So it's gotten great reviews. This is a really new technology that's like incorporating the video game with a physical toy. So that's very exciting, very cool stuff. And it's not just Nintendo doing this stuff. It's also like educational. You got some NASA working with the Smithsonian Museum to talk about the Mars rover, or the Curiosity rover. And I have a few videos of myself using it. I wonder if I'm sharing sound right now.
You are not.
I'm not. Okay,
No,
it's
I
not
hear
entirely.
it.
It's
I
not
thought I
entirely
heard it.
needed, but it's basically you could get a model of the Curiosity rover in your driveway, and as you can tell, it's very large. It's like the size of my car. You can get up close to it. You can drive it around. It moves very slowly, but it's very interesting. If you can't see the rover in real life, which you can't because it's on Mars, you can check it out in your driveway. Also, they have another part, which is called the Mars portal, which is you set up a portal to Mars in whichever room you're hanging out in, and you can actually step into it and hang out with the Curiosity rover and check out the environment. So you just step right in, and some epic music plays. I'm sorry you guys aren't hearing it. You'll just have to try it out for yourself. Very triumvirate. And you look around once you're in the portal, and you learn about how it collects specimens and all that fun stuff. Cool. And utility purposes. So this is an app called IKEA Place, which IKEA makes furniture. And if you have like a learning impairment with spatial awareness, like my mom, who like doesn't know what 6 feet looks like, maybe you could use this app to project what a couch would look like in your living room, or like say if like it doesn't match the walls or something, or it won't fit. That's a great utility purpose using augmented reality. And this is a tool using my iPad about how to measure stuff in real life. It's just the measurement tool application on my iPad, and it uses a technology called LiDAR, which I don't entirely know what it is, but Jacob, would you want to enlighten us about LiDAR real quick?
Yeah, it's basically kind of it's not quite infrared. I think it's like a slightly longer wavelength or something like that. But basically, it if you have a new iPhone or an iPad, it's equipped with a sensor. It's a LiDAR sensor, laser. Yes, it fires lasers out. It's pretty cool. It's I think it was somebody told me it was a military technology originally or something. And it'll fire a bunch of beams out, and it'll compute how far away an object is, or how, like it'll by how long it takes to get back, that kind of thing. And then it'll be able to it's very good for 3D modeling things, like scanning things. It's really cool for 3D artists to be able to just go around, and some apps you can just walk around like your room and just hold the phone around, and with a certain amount of time it'll create polygons for your whole room, and also kind of project a texture onto it, and it'll recreate your room in a 3D space. It's very cool stuff. And in this case, it's being used for measurement. So that's on the new iPhones and maybe some other stuff too, but it's really cool, and it's really cool for artistic work and also for technical measurement work using some infrared type technology.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Yeah, it's very cool and very helpful. I had no idea what the dimensions of that portrait was until I pointed my iPad at it. So very cool stuff going on. And all right, cool. So now I'm going to hop into Adobe Dimension and Adobe Aero. So Adobe Dimension, think of it as like Adobe's baby steps into 3D modeling. This is not Maya. This is not a entirely crazy cuckoo bananas software. It's very, very simple. And it's very Adobe friendly. So let me just share my Adobe screen with you right now. Okay. So this is Adobe Dimension. So before I get into this, my immersive design class, we were assigned to develop a 3D model of a product that we'd want to sell to a customer and to allow the customer to experience it or like view it in their space before purchasing. So I'm going to work around Dimension for a little bit. I'll show you what I made and I'll show you a little video of it. So Adobe Dimension, you have your primitive shapes. So I'm going to take this cube and there it is. And if you select it, you have your little adjustment handles. So it moves in all the different axes you want, Y, X, and Z, and you can rotate it with these handles. You can scale it with these handles. You can even go over to this panel over here. And you can scale it this way. If you unclip that, you can scale it so it remains, intact. What's really nice about the software is the hotkeys are the easiest things I've ever had to learn in any software. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 for the camera views. This is a nice little rotate. Number 2 is a nice like trolley pan camera angle. Number 3 is zooming in and zooming out. And number 4, it's a nice tilt action going on. So some might call me a 3D modeling whiz or extraordinaire, but they would be horribly wrong. So I'm gonna build a nice, just a nice little model for all of you guys to see what you can do with this stuff. And put a nice cone on top of that. I'll scale it down. I'll rotate a little bit. Ooh, that's not rotate. Here we go. A nice little, yeah, sure. And scale it down a little bit. All right, and we got a nice little like Jack in the Box thing going on here. So that's nice and pretty. So while building this, it's really easy to like lose your way and like maybe see that things aren't really connecting the way you want. Like I'm happy all these look like they're touching at least. Sometimes you put things in 3D space and they're not, you rotate the camera and they're not touching at all. So what's nice about this software, I'm sure they have this in other software too, is that they have this little camera bookmark. So you can add a camera bookmark. I'll name it view 1. And say I got completely lost. Like, oh gosh, I have no idea where it is. I'll never find it again. I go back to my view 1 and I end up back in that spot. So that's a nice little thing too. And of course you can make, in 3D space, things are made of different stuff. So if you wanted a Jack in the Box made of gelatin, that's what that would look like. You could do metal. That's a fun one to work with because it shows like nice lighting techniques. And also I would want mine to be a nice walnut. There you go. And also you can play with the lighting. Pick different scenarios of where you'd want your Jack in the Box to take place. All that fun stuff. What's also nice about this, and probably the most useful for like say designers who are maybe doing branding stuff, if you can't 3D model, they might have a model for you already. So if you want a takeout box, they have a takeout box for you. If you want a coffee bag, you can make your coffee bag. I'm gonna pick a gift bag, and with this, I can put my own logo on it or someone else's logo. So say SUP is having a huge party and we're all invited and they're giving out goodie bags at the end with their logo on it. So what I do is click it, go to bag, And they have this little icon here called Place Graphic on Model. And then I'll just pick my nice little PNG here. And there you have it. So this is nice for putting logos on things and branding stuff. You can change the scale and whatnot to make sure it takes up the space nicely. And what I would do if I wanted to export this is just go to Adobe File, Export, and you can export this as like a .obj or .glb to whatever you store your files, or you can just export it straight to Adobe Aero. Now, I can't show you Adobe Aero per se right now because it's a mobile app for your phone or iPad to like see stuff in augmented reality, but it's very simple to use, and I can show you a video that I made. So first, here is what I made. I did a 3D model of like a toy box, a la like maybe a Funko Pop or like an action figure, because I like little toys and figures and stuff. So if you're, I made this with Adobe Illustrator and made different panels and put my own stuff on it. It's a little carrot guy. And I'm gonna go back to my PowerPoint.
That's so cute. I'm sorry, I have to say it. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Okay. And here is the little video I made. That's my little toy box on my shelf, or on my desk, excuse me. You can do like some simple animations with it, just like scaling and rotating and stuff. And as you get closer, there comes like the information like how to purchase it and like a little, maybe like not directly as like, it doesn't look like it's advertised, but that's supposed to be the little figure. Yeah, so moving right along with my other project. We were, in my immersive design class, we were supposed to design a spatial UI. So that's user interface taking place in a 3D space. And I came up with this under the hood project. So your engine light goes on, you don't know what to do. So you maybe take out your phone and look under your hood using your phone. And you'd input your information, like what kind of car you have and what year and whatnot. Loads and whatnot. And then what you would do is like scan your engine. And depending on what light indicator went off, you would click that indicator and it would highlight what part of the engine you need to deal with and instructions on like what to do to fix it. It's for the people who don't know what's going on with the cars, like me. It goes pretty quickly there at the end, but just yeah, some spatial UI stuff that I made. And then think about like the potential of what this technology can really do, you know? Maybe you want to go to a comedy show, but you're in quarantine and then you've watched everything on Netflix. So then you have an AR ticket to like have John Mulaney just perform in your living room, like a little John Mulaney on your couch or something. Maybe you want to go to a haunted house, but you can't go. So you decided to 3D map your entire house and have an AI like augment into your reality and you can run around your house scaring you. That's maybe a possibility you could do. Keep that in the back of your mind, like what this technology could do. And that's what I got to show you today. And I'm going to pass the torch over to Jacob, who's going to show you some even more cool stuff you can do with some AR.
Yay, cool, very cool stuff. I'm going to get a little more, first, thank you, Chris, appreciate it. Thank you, that was very interesting.
Yeah. Totally.
I'm going to get a little more under the hood and get into Spark AR, which is the Instagram, Facebook filter maker. And it was developed by Facebook, which owns everything with Instagram and all that. And they wanted to give consumers the ability and their users to make AR filters themselves, which is very cool stuff. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to get into it. How the hell do I do that? Oh, there it is. Okay, are we seeing it? Okay, cool. So basically, Spark AR is kind of it's a little 3D program with a lot of AR and kind of it's similar to Unreal in the way it's got a cool node graph going on, and you can develop things that are you can code for it and make things that are similar to some kinds of game development and stuff, and it can do a lot. It's really powerful tool. I think that they still have some bugs they need to work out to make it a little bit more like a real 3D software. Like there's some, like, you can't detach panels and you can't save in iterations, which is annoying. Like I can't even save at I don't know if that's a bug or not. There's some criticisms I have, but in general, it's very very cool program for somebody at a really entry level to be able to use. So basically, this is the kind of stuff like if you have your phone and you make a filter and your face has like dog ears on it, you can make that kind of thing very easily here. Or you could make something where you where your face is like colorful and there's flashing lights, and you can also do things that are on the other side of the camera, which is more like what Chris was talking about, where you can put 3D objects into the real world. So I'm just going to very kind of briefly summarize Spark AR and then just kind of show you an effect I made, and hopefully if it works, we can all try it out. Cool. So this is Spark AR, and this is the camera simulator, which is going to simulate what it's like if a user is using their phone. So you can set different phones and all that kind of stuff. And basically, just a very simple thing. Let's say you want to have like a clown nose on somebody. You would use the face tracker. There's two trackers that are, well, there's three. I'm going to talk about the face and the plane tracker. So there's a face tracker that will track the face and track elements of the face, like the nose, the mouth, the eyes, and such. And then there's a plane tracker, and like I said, that's the other side of the camera. That's the real world. It'll track like a tabletop and put something on top, like Pikachu, like that kind of thing. So, like for example, let's say you want to do an AR effect where you have a clown nose. So what you would do is you would add a face tracker to the scene, and now there's an element. You can see there's these little handles here that's tracking this face. That would be the user's face. And then what's great about Spark AR is there's a lot of, it's very procedural in that you don't really need to have to use other 3D programs. You don't need to do a ton of stuff if you don't want to. You can go into the AR library, and they pair it up with Sketch Hub or some Sketch Fab or whatever the hell it is. And then you can, and there's tons of 3D assets available. There's music assets, there's textures, there's all kinds of stuff. So you can just add a primitive here, a sphere, and import it. And now it's in your scene, and you have a sphere. And then you parent it under the face tracker, and look at that. There's a little ball that's tracked to the person's nose. Very exciting stuff. And then what you would do to make it a real clown nose, of course, it needs to be red. So then you would go into the material that's associated with the object, and red. Exciting. So it's very simple. What happened there? There we go, full saturation. Okay, so you can make it, there's a few kinds of materials here, which describes physically how the surface interacts with light. So it could be shiny, it could be flat, which is like lighting doesn't affect it at all. So you could apply a physically based material, a standard material, a flat material. There's some options there. It's not like, I mean, you want to keep your file sizes really small. So it's not like you're doing a ton of stuff, but for simple stuff, you can really do a lot and you can keep the file sizes pretty small, honestly. So there's that. And let's say that, for example, instead of a clown nose just sitting there on his face, I want, actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you something real quick that makes more sense. So I do it now instead of later. So there's something that's very important to Spark AR called the patch editor, and they call it patches, but it's really nodes. I don't know why they call it I mean, they're the same thing. Patches is more of an audio term. I don't know why they call it patches, but they do, I think, to be more kind of inviting to everybody. Patches sounds fun, exciting. So it's called the patch editor. And what you do is you can do procedural animation, and you can move, you can do, you can control the objects in your scene basically using the patch editor. So if let's say that I want this ball to kind of like get bigger and smaller and kind of like bounce in and out with its size. So what I would do is I would get it, I would get there's these little arrows, and that's how you add something to the patch editor. So I get the scale, and now I have a node patch that controls the scale. And then I would add a loop animation patch, and you have all these patches available to you. And then you specify using a transition patch, you specify how big you want it to get. So it's going to start at a scale of 1, and then I want it to go to a scale of 2. So I would put these values into the scale, and then I would, bingo, and look at that. This loop animation patch is creating it's creating a data that's going from that's like in a second, it's going from like 0 to 1. It's inputting that into this transition, and then over a period of a second, it's going from a scale of 1 to 2. It's once you understand how these patches work, it's actually pretty simple. It's if you're good at like coding, or if you're into that kind of stuff, it's that kind of mentality where it's like a sentence structure almost. So, and if I want this to be mirrored, so then it's going big and small, big, small, and then you kind of program this bouncing clown nose on someone's face. Pretty simple stuff. So that is cool. And that's kind of a very simple effect. So there's other things you'll want to do where we're like with Instagram filters, what's very popular is to add something to someone's face that's like on their face, like it looks like it's on their face, or you change the colors in the scene, or you make it like there's a lot of it's very kind of two-dimensional kind of filters, not necessarily adding 3D stuff. And for that, I'm not going to go too much into that, but you'd basically be doing something called render layers, and that's when you basically like take the whole scene, and they call it render layers, and you make the scene a layer, and then you apply an effect to a layer. So let's say I want the whole scene to be purple. I grab the scene using some patches, and I say, make the scene purple, and then it applies a patch to the whole scene. So that's how that kind of stuff works. And that's more doing stuff in the patch editor. But let's say you just want to like add like there's common effects where you add something to someone's cheeks, or you add like a tattoo to their forehead, or that like adding that like stuff to someone's face. What you'll be doing there, let me turn the visibility off this, is you'll be adding what's called a face mesh. And that, as you can see, is adding this mesh that's tracked onto someone's face. And it's really cool because you can do things like even you can deform someone's face based on it. So you add a deformation pack that comes with it. And then you can make someone's eyes weird and bigger, and their nose bigger, and their all kinds of, mess up their face and stuff. You can make their forehead bigger, square, triangle. You really can do everything. So it's really cool to be able to integrate common 3D things like blend shapes and deformations. And you can actually take the face mesh and you can bring it into a 3D program and make custom blend shapes and deformations, which is basically just adjusting the mesh and then adding the slider here that will deform the face to your adjustment. You can make their nose super big and that kind of thing. And then, so that's one function of the face mesh. The other function, let me just get rid of this, is you can add a face mesh and then you can apply a texture to it. So you can see there's this checkerboard texture already applied to it. But what you could do is you could add, let's say you wanted to add a tattoo to their forehead. It provides a map of this face mesh so that you can go into Photoshop, and then you can just put on a tattoo right where the cheek area is on the, it gives you, if you've ever heard of a UV map, it's like, it gives you the coordinates of where textures would fall on the face. Basically, it's like a flat surface. It's a flat image, and then you can kind of map the texture onto it. So you could put a tattoo on their face by applying a PNG texture, which is transparent except for this tattoo that's on their cheek. So then you could put like things on their face and stuff like that. Or you can like make their cheeks red or make it look like they're blushing, make their lips look red by just applying textures that are transparent to this face mesh, which is really cool. And that's some of the basic face tracking stuff you use. I mean, they have all kinds of cool little things that you can do. You can add a particle system, which is very fun. You can see that there's these, let me get rid of this. You can see that there's this particle system happening now, and you can make it 3D objects by changing it to a sphere. Now you have these 3D objects, and I could, and you can map a texture onto that. You can do, there's a lot of things that you can do. It's very exciting. So, is there anything else I should go over?
What about Jacob?
Yeah.
What about 3D like custom meshes or 3D objects? Can those be brought in?
Yes, that was the last thing I was going to go into. It's you can bring in any 3D object in this program in the format of an FBX or an OBJ. And I think there's some other, it's suitable with Blender in a really nice way. They have their own plugin for Blender to export things. So you want to keep the, so I'll talk about that a little more specifically. You want to keep the, for this kind of thing, you want to keep the vertex count very low. You want to keep the objects as simple as possible. So you're not going to be bringing in these really dense, high-res objects. So you kind of have this workflow you get into, which is what I got into, which I'll show you, where you have an object and you're kind of scaling it down for a more game-friendly format, which is kind of what this is for you. And then you want to just bring it in, and you can do some animations on it. Like you could animate something moving back and forth. You can do loop animations, but any complex animations you want to do them in your native 3D program, and then bring that in as an animation asset, which you can do in Maya through the game exporter plugin, which comes with Maya, and you can do it with Blender through a plugin that Spark provides. And it's really cool. You can get, now that I've talked about that, I'm going to just get into that because that's the last thing. So I made such an effect using my character, Ruben Shapiro, TM, copyright Ruben Shapiro. And that's, I don't want the audio to play the whole time. It'll get annoying. But basically, I'll show you the whole thing. Basically, it's I made this effect where Ruben's dancing in a scene. This is a scene that you would go outside and you could track it. This is simulating that, or you could do it on any surface. And then I actually provided some user interface. You press this button and it's dance party time. Disco ball, and I have a little particle system here. So it's very exciting, and it plays some music too. And that's you really get into with Spark. You get into this kind of coding mentality, and it's like basically I programmed like if this button is pressed, then particles and disco ball starts kind of thing. And it's very cool to be able to do that without having to know coding in a pretty simple way. So all these, there's a lot of nodes here, which but it's cool because it actually provides you with a template. So I started with some nodes already set up for me. It's called world object, and it basically puts a world in the object and tracks it to a plane. But a lot of the other stuff I added, like I added a shadow by using render layers. I added some lights on this disco ball to give it some cool lighting. I made this particle system and added these custom textures in that are transparent to give it these musical notes. And I added, of course, my character here. And I made this character in Maya, and I down-resed it considerably. And I down-resed it. You make the textures like, I think it's like 1024 by 1024. And you can bring a character in. I will admit, it was kind of painstaking to do it. To get a character that is made for a film setting and bringing it into a video game setting, you're kind of crossing a platform there. You're optimizing it for a different kind of usability. So there's some hurdles there. But if you're just making an object and you know you're using it for Spark, then you can, it's more easy. This was a very complicated rig setup, and there was a lot that Spark did not like about it on the first import. So I had to do some things. And if anyone has questions about that, I can go into it more, but there's a lot of things about that aren't really relevant. But basically I got this character into Spark, set up this animation, which I did in Maya, and it's a loop. So this is very like loopy. Everything is about loops in this, because you're not going to have an animation that's it's made so that it keeps going forever. You know, it's not made to be like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but there's yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, so I as you can see, this is the effect I made, and it's tracked to the ground, and there's some coding for the user to be able to turn on and off the disco ball and stuff. And yeah, I mean, you can see here, there's like, it starts with the camera, and then it's like, once the front camera is activated, there's this pulse patch that turns on a clock that starts to run. And then when that clock starts to run, once it gets to a certain point, then the text displays on the screen. And it's like, it's this kind of language of programming. And this is the picker patch, and it allowed me to add these buttons in here. So it's like, you program this picker so that like when the first one is selected, then it turns on all these things, and it's basically just toggling the visibility. This looks very complicated, but it's basically just like, okay, when button press, toggle visibility, and turn on this animation loop that's making this disco ball kind of get bigger and smaller, and start the music, that kind of thing. It's really, it's a lot of different sentences, but each sentence is pretty simple. It's basically just when press, turn on, this kind of situation. And there's a lot of patches, and there's a lot of things you can do. You can program it so that when someone nods their head one way, that it triggers something. Like, so instead of having it control like pressing buttons, you can have the user control with their face things. So like if they open their mouth, then you could be like, there's patches for it. There's interaction patches, and that's like eyebrow raised, eyebrows lowered, happy face, head nod. So it's like you put in a head nod, and then that puts out this Boolean, is what it's called, which is on or off. That's computer language. It just means 1 or 0. And then so you would pipe this into something that said, like, so let's say the visibility of the character, and you would pipe this in to the visibility, so then when there's a head nod, then it would turn something on. So that's kind of how that goes. So does anyone have any questions about this?
Yeah,
Yes. Sorry, go
right.
ahead, Chris. No, go ahead, Chris.
I was wondering, how would you publish this to Instagram so we could access it?
That's a fantastic question. So basically how you would do that is you go, that's when you start getting, so I'll just say quickly how you do it, and then I'll show you the finished product, because it has been uploaded. So you go to upload and export, and then it opens this thing for you. And luckily it's like iOS, Android, older Android, it's hitting all the specifications. So basically for Instagram, it needs to be under 4 megabytes. For Facebook, it needs to be under 10 megabytes. And I got it down to about 2. So good stuff. And if it's not there, then you can do things like, which is very important, you want to look at all the assets in your scene. You can do that in this asset summary, and that's where you start to consolidate things and delete things you don't need. You want to be, all these things are very small. It compresses everything against compression that's already being done. There's a lot of compression going on, so you're not expecting super high quality things, but it looks pretty good when you use it. So yeah, you make sure all this, oh, there's a button here for view asset summary. And then you make sure all the capabilities are supported, and then you go to publish new effect. And then I won't do that because I already did it, but that just takes you to a web page where you just fill out some information, like what's the effect called, and then like what genre is the effect, and just some stuff like that. And then you go through a publishing process with Facebook, and they say it's good or it's not good. And if it's not good, it's probably because it doesn't fall under one of their many lists of things that they need you to do. Like they have some, they don't want you to put like links in it or text, or they want to put people's faces, and they have all the kinds of things. So you should read through their things before you make an effect, and then you work on it. And then it's like, oh, can't do that because it makes people want to leave Instagram under or something, because they want people to not leave the platform. It's amazing that they've created this, but you have to understand that the point of it is to get people to be on Instagram. So they don't want you, if you get too edgy with it, you're pushing against a machine that doesn't want you to push against it. So you got to be careful there. Fortunately for me, I didn't decide to go the edgy route. I went the fun, adorable route, and so this was accepted immediately, which was cool. And so that is on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm going to tell you in the chat what my Instagram handle is so that you can search it. You can go to the tab on my page, but you should be, if you know how to use Instagram filters, you should be able to just go to an Instagram filter and then browse effects and be able to search it. It's called Do the Ruben. Do space the space Ruben, RUBEN. That is the name of the effect. But I'm going to put in the chat my Instagram handle so that you could just search it, and then you go to like where instead of like there's like IGTV, and then there's like photos of you, and it creates a new tab for AR effects that you've made. So it actually is pretty easy to find. Then you just press and try it. So I'm just gonna put that. Where the hell's the chat? I lost the chat. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? Do I have to stop sharing? Oh, there's the chat.
Zoom.
No,
I
I
think
lost
they'd
it.
figure that out. Like, I don't know.
Oh, there's the
Consolidated
chat.
to one screen, especially, it's aggravating.
There's the chat. Okay. It's excuse the dark name, but that is my Instagram name. And then you go to that page, and then under like the tabs, if you've used Instagram, it's where like you would be tagged in other photos, and then you'll see the effects thing, and then there's a thing, Do the Ruben, and you can try it out yourself on your phone. It's very exciting. And for those of you who don't have Instagram or Facebook, I don't know how to search on Facebook actually, but it shouldn't be that hard. I don't know how to do it though. I don't use Facebook. But if you don't have those things, then just this is what it looks like, but in a real space, as it looks on the simulator thing. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's how you can do that. And so whoever wants to do that.
Yeah.
But
Do it.
otherwise,
But Jacob, I had a question about when you were talking about interactions, where brow raise and stuff like that, like facial tracking on the front-facing camera, those can be easily mapped to blend shape animations, right? Or how does that work? Would you export like an animation of the blend shape and then cue that animation, or do you do that sort of animation within Spark?
do you mean like the distortions of, like, do you mean the interaction, like you raise an eyebrow and it triggers something, or you mean like when you make the eyebrows bigger and the ears big and the face bigger?
So like Ruben, for example, like tracking a smile on the interactor's face to a blend shape animation on Ruben of a
I
smile.
see.
Yeah.
I see. That would definitely be more complicated, and the blend shape situation in Spark is weird because it didn't appreciate my blend shapes for Ruben, but it does, like the face deformation pack that I used to make people's face bigger and all that stuff. Those are blend shapes, but Spark makes the blend shapes in the program. Like you're basically importing other geometry, and you're telling Spark, make this a deformation, make this a blend shape for this object. So you're not importing an object from Maya, say, that has blend shapes attached to it. You're importing another object and saying, make this a blend shape. So it's not quite, so the blend shapes I have for Ruben, I would have to import those full bodies into Spark and make those blend shapes. So it's a little, I haven't figured out the whole blend shape situation, honestly, because it doesn't accept blend shapes super easily. But what you would do in that case is you would make a patch that would be like smile, and then you would take the progress output of that. So it's like from 0 to 100, you would take the progress of that smile, and then you would pipe that into a progress for the blend shape, let's say.
Mhm.
And it would be as simple as that hypothetically.
Cool.
In reality, I have yet to make that kind of stuff work really well, but it should be as simple as that. It's just instead of on off for smile on off, you would have a progress output. Yeah. So that's how that should work. Yeah.
It's possible. Cool.
It should be possible. But like I said, Spark is new, and there's not a ton of information about it besides what they provide.
Mhm.
So there is kind of there's some stuff that needs to be fixed and some stuff that needs to be kind of discovered over a long, arduous journey of
Buyer
working
beware.
inside the program.
Caveat emptor, yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
It's cool.
Hey, Jacob.
Really cool stuff.
I hope I made that clear and it wasn't too much rambling, because I'm new to the program as well. So cool.
It's included with Creative Cloud, right?
No, well,
No, it's Spark AR. Sorry, it's not Adobe, is it?
yeah, no, it's not Adobe. It is not Adobe. It is free though, and you download it just from the Facebook page. And there are tutorials they provide and documentation. It has its own cool little thing going on where there's a community for it online, and you can get it for free. And it's cool. Definitely look into it. It's not too challenging, and I think it works better than some of this Adobe 3D beta stuff they do, like Mixamo and Fuse and this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That can be very glitchy, whereas this is pretty reliable, honestly, for what it can do. It's quite reliable, and it functions similarly to, I think, how a lot of other VR game engine 3D program type things work. It's not too limited. So
Nice.
cool. Stop sharing.
I guess you guys are both like just getting into it, so I'm sure later, in like a month or so, month and a half, you might like know something else.
For sure. Yeah, like I didn't go too much into the actual, like, most popular effects, I think, are not the AR so much as it is like face filters, which is kind of AR, but it's like not as recognizably AR. So the more I learn about that, the more I could go into it. But the process is similar. It's just more about render layers, which is something you'd have to learn more about.
Yeah, it's definitely still an emerging technology, which is like really fun, all the possibilities you could do.
Real-time compositing, that's like a big thing right now. Yeah. I'll be downloading it right after this meeting. Absolutely.
Jacob, I tried it out. It's super cool.
Oh,
But
the
I'm
effect?
more, yeah, I tried it out. I put it in like the little hammock where my cat sleeps, and he was dancing in there. And I was like, that's so cool. But I'm really impressed on how you got that size down so small, because when I was trying it this summer, I had like 3 million vertices or something, and they were like, no, you can't upload this. And I didn't know how to like make it smaller. So
Were you bringing it in from Maya? Were you bringing
Blender.
another Blender? Did you use the Spark AR exporter thing that Spark makes for Blender?
Yup. And it still was like, we got it down from like 3 million to like 2 million. And it was still too big. And I was like, thanks, you tried.
Unfortunately, I don't know anything about Blender really, but I should. I wish I did, but I can't help on that one. I don't think.
It's retopology is essentially what you're looking for. Like, it's just like sometimes it's as painful as creating a new mesh right over the old mesh and then transferring that detail using maps and stuff. But yeah, not fun. There should be a reduction tool though. I think it's called decimation in Blender. Yeah, it's decimate. It's a modifier called decimate, and that you can reduce it. And there's options that can like keep detail in certain areas and stuff like that, where it's like smarter than just like a brute force reduction kind of thing.
When I have time, I'll definitely try my hand again at this whole Spark AR and Blender thing, because I think it's super, super interesting, and it makes you super competitive as well.
it's a great way to get your content out there real fast. If like I made this movie and I had this character and I want to like do more with it. So it's like I have these 3D assets and you can make it do a little dance, and there's this great novelty to the AR stuff that you don't have to do that much, and it's cool, and people will come to your page and look at other stuff. So yeah.
And just one more thing, like I work with brand management and it's all about algorithms. And I tested it this week and they love it. Like Instagram and Facebook, they love it when you use in-app features. So if you use Spark AR, I'm pretty sure that'll drive engagement like crazy because that's integrated native with Facebook.
Yeah, don't fight the machine. Love the machine. You can become one with the machine. Make it work for you though.
They prize low effort stuff. I
Yeah.
did like 10 hours of After Effects and it got like 500 views. And then I just basically like sticker slapped and boomeranged the hell out of this week and we're up to like 10,000. So they prize laziness.
That's really good to know. Thank you, Priscilla.
Well, thank you again, Jacob and Chris.
It was awesome.